Today I'm up in Hunt Valley, Maryland, and we're actually at System Source here, but it's the computer museum. So we're gonna check out some vintage computers, gadgets, and I know there's some cool vintage video stuff too. And now not only am I going to tour the museum, but actually I have the owner, the curator of the museum, who has some really cool stories for us that I'm gonna include in the video because he can tell them much better than I can. But you guys are going to enjoy them. I mean, we have things like the first Apple computer, the Apple one that was actually built by Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak. And there's the unbeatable tic-tac-toe board or machine, which is wild. You even have something on the Captain Crunch whistle, which you're gonna love. You're gonna love the Captain Crunch whistle. Vintage electronics are fun, and hopefully this brings back some memories, things that you've used over the years. And let me know in the comments what things you see in this video that you've used over the years and that you can relate to, and any stories that you have. So hey, let's get to it. This is the video format display they got. So have you ever had a video disc?
We never did.
The video discs are a wild thing. They look absolutely horrible. Like, if you can imagine the worst picture in the history of anything, like I don't even know how to explain it any better, but it's reading the picture and it's reading the disc with a needle and a stylus, like would be on a turntable. And the one really cool thing though about these, and why you may want to get one of these, is because these are all original films, and a lot of them that you can't get anywhere else.
Wow.
They're not going to be edited.
Yeah.
They're going to be just totally 70s, maybe early 80s. 1981 this was introduced. So you're going to get original films. And you got HD DVDs. That was a great format, but very short-lived because Blu-ray beat them out. DivX. You remember DivX?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Where you could rent the movie and only play it one time. So you get this at Circuit City. That was Circuit City's big thing. You'd rent the movie one time and then you got to throw it out.
Yep.
So it's crazy that they still have in the boxes.
This was great because I remember these CDI, because these could be played in any computer. Right, so you didn't have to have a DVD player or anything like that. You could just play, as long as you had the right like Winamp, and there was some old software that you could run. You could just pop this into your computer. You could watch it. It was not a DVD. It was a video CD.
Video CD, and that's why you would see that on different players that they play those.
Exactly.
Now I'm not familiar.
I think it's the same one.
It's the same thing?
Yeah, it's the same one.
Look at that cover.
So, yeah, I know, isn't that great?
That is a wild time. The next thing, this is probably the most rare. Do you remember these?
No, what is this?
So this is an HD VHS.
Okay.
So this was in, I'm guessing 1080p at the time. 1080 16.9. So it was HD.
Wow.
And you would have to get an HD. They were very short-lived, very expensive, but you could watch HD VHSs. I've never actually used one of those, and I'd love to actually see how they look. Wow, I didn't know they made
like mini
video 8s in actual boxes.
Yeah, that's cool.
Oh, that is awesome. What year? 1986. Bad News Bears. Of course, you got a laser disc right there.
Yep.
And
beta.
Super Beta Hi-Fi. So this was actually really good. You know, VCRs and betas had great audio. Got ourselves a tape rewinder.
Yep.
Beta cam, they're the big cartridges.
And just remember, please remember to rewind.
Yes.
Be kind. Rewind. Conan the Barbarian.
Look at that video rental sticker. 1986. Ticket price $89. So for if you guys remember how much videos were back then, you melt that tape in the car and you're spending $100 to get that fixed. And this, it looks like we got a built-in console over here.
Trinitron.
Laser karaoke. Got a cassette deck. I guess the theater system built right into the console there. And yeah, like you said, a nice Trinitron. Oh, do you remember this?
Oh, yeah.
The digital television transition notice. All TVs will stop analog processing. 2009, June 12th. The last time you could actually get TV signal through the airwaves. I mean, you kind of get, the signals aren't going through the airwaves now, but you can get TV on any TV through the internet or digital broadcast. So it's really the same thing, but a different format.
Yeah, I think it was they had to free up some of the radio waves for other things. It was getting a little cluttered.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I do remember that. I remember my grandmother-in-law actually buying a digital TV in anticipation of this.
Oh, yes.
Like, that was a big deal.
And if not, you had to buy the box.
Yes.
You remember everybody had to have the box.
Exactly.
Or you weren't going to have any TV stations. Grandma wasn't watching her from
QVC.
Bob Barker.
QVC.
In the mornings, no Jerry Springer for you or Maury, whatever it is, the soaps. This exhibit here has all the different gadgets that you would have had at different times, from like, you got the Game Boy with the screen that you could never see. I don't even know what's going on with this camera here with the little screen and the USB port. You got some beepers. Did you have a beeper?
I had a beeper on one of my jobs when I worked for that hospital. I had a beeper.
These
those.
They're my favorite phones. Like, not this specific one, but the quirky keyboard where you just push the screen out. If they still made those, that's the way I would go.
Now, do you see this?
A ThinkPad?
That is the ThinkPad. That is the original ThinkPad. That's what Lenovo and IBM called their laptop series. But this is the original ThinkPad. This is what they would give to all the employees ThinkPads. There's the original iPod.
Got the CD Walkman. Oh yeah, you got the iPod Mini, the iPod, the Walkman, the CD Walkman, of course the original Walkman, and you got, what is this? Is that a watch stereo? Oh, here's the ad for it. The TV watch. Oh, I'm sorry, that's the stereo for the TV watch. You have there. And you get a payphone, which we'll talk about in a minute. We have something cool to show with the payphone. And then all the other phones. This would be probably before I would have not had a phone back then.
Yes.
Maybe up in this.
This was more of a second generation.
What was the big phone everybody had? The 6180?
Yeah, I don't know if they have one down here, but it looked like a brick.
Yeah, here's the mini Nokia. I had the next one up. The one that everybody had, the black one.
I had the one that, like the Verizon one right there. That was my first one.
You got a national, like a mini reel-to-reel tape there, and then you got a mini disc.
Mini disc player.
The mini discs are really nice. They're just really difficult to maintain or find a good one that's working. There's your portable cell phone down there. I didn't get to experience a lot of this stuff.
These are the real.
Oh, they come off.
The old school. Yeah, they kind of the BlackBerry.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The original BlackBerry. My least favorite phone was the BlackBerry, because I thought it was the coolest thing, but when I went to use it, I have larger hands. So when trying to use the BlackBerry, it was too much for me to one hand type on the BlackBerry. So I was a bigger fan of the Quirkies, which is right there. So there's all the pocket gadgets that you might have had over the years. Let me know which ones you guys had in the comments.
This guy's name is John Drape. His nickname is Captain Crunch. And he went into the library at Stanford University in the 60s to learn how this system worked. And he learned that in addition to star, pound, and 0 through 9, there were secret tones that told AT&T that you had dropped the money down the payphone. So he would build these so-called blue boxes. This would be filled with capacitors and resistors and batteries and a speaker. And he would call the operator, which was free, push the button, fool the phone company into believing you had dropped the money down. So he did this. You got to be a little crazy to carry around $100 worth of electronics to sell a dime. But he then discovered, quite by accident, that the whistle that comes out of a box of Captain Crunch cereal works just as well. He agreed to be interviewed here in the October 71 issue of Esquire magazine, where he taught us all how to do it. You guys weren't alive.
No, but I've heard of the Captain Crunch whistle.
So anyway, two of the people who read it would be Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak. They were already buddies. Wozniak says, oh, I can build a digital version of this, and I can build it with $10 of parts. So he builds one, it doesn't work. He goes to meet John Draper. They become buddies. And there their paths go in opposite directions. Wozniak and Jobs start Apple Computer, very successful computer company, to put it mildly. And Draper went to jail for telecommunication fraud. Apple goes ahead, builds the Apple I, builds the Apple II. Apple II has no software. He's able to get out of jail if he gets a job. Apple hires him, writes a word processor called Easy Writer, and by some miracle we sold a copy of Easy Writer on the first invoice that we can still find from 1982, 42 years ago. Wow. And that's what got him out of jail. On the 1st of April 1976, three gentlemen, Stephen G. Wozniak, Stephen P. Jobs, and Mr. Ron Wayne started a company called Apple. Wozniak had designed the Apple I computer way better than the ones that came before it. First of all, it was all on a single board. Woz figured out how to get this so that it would display on your home TV. Hopefully this is not your home TV. This is what's called a prison TV. It's clear so that we can see any contraband that might be hidden inside of it. Revolutionary design. $666 bought you the board. It's up to you to provide your own tape recorder to store your programs on, your own power supply, your own case. That's the Byte Shop that Steve Jobs took a sample of this to sell. He was hoping to get an order for maybe 5 of them. Paul Terrell, the owner of the Byte Shop, was blown away, said, gentlemen, I want 50 of these. Nice problem. They didn't have the money to buy all the parts. So in the biography there, you can learn about how Steve Jobs sold his VW bus. Steve Wozniak sold his HP 35 calculator. They're still $15,000 short. Ron Wayne, you're the president, you're an adult, because the Steves were they were kids. We want your signature. We have a lien on your house. Ron Wayne says, I'm out of here. And on this document, Ron Wayne, for $800, sold 10% of Apple 12 days in. Those are pizza boxes, by the way, in Steve Jobs' bedroom. The first 50 Apples, when they were assembled in the garage, were put in there and delivered to the Byte Shop. Ron Wayne sells 10% of Apple at today's valuation, about $300 billion for $800. He said, look, I made the right decision given the information I had at the time. Ron Wayne, a great artist. He drew the original Apple logo. There's an apple about to fall on Isaac's head and make him into Sir Isaac Newton as he discovers gravity. He also was nice enough to draw a picture of the Rick Conti apple. So a fellow named Rick Conti went into that Byte Shop as a retail customer, bought an Apple I, put it inside a briefcase, Apple I mounted to the bottom, power supply back there, keyboard on top, plug that into your screen, and you have the first Apple laptop computer. So there's the picture of it. There it is in real life. Christie's is auctioning one from the Paul Allen collection. They're estimating it's going to bring in $500,000. We'll see what it auctions for.
And when was the last time you powered it on?
May 17th. Corey was here.
Oh, okay.
And we had a power on event. What we found was the last people who turned it on decided that capacitor was bad. Mm-hmm. That's the original capacitor. The one there on the 12 volt is a new one. When we fired it up this time, we're still having trouble on the 12 volt. At least Corey, who's the top expert on Apple I's, has decided that it's the 12 volt power regulator, and this capacitor is fine. Oh. So at our next Power On event, he's going to put the original capacitor back in.
Oh, okay. The other thing I remember about this last time was there's a serial number on the back.
It's not exactly it's not a serial number, but it is handwritten by Steve Jobs, and that is in Steve Jobs' handwriting. Are you ready to play tic-tac-toe against the oldest tic-tac-toe machine in the world that still works? We're going to go take a look at an early gaming computer, 1949. So this gentleman, Charles Babbage, was born in 1791, so no, I didn't meet him. In 1820, he designed the difference engine, mechanical machine. Should have, could have, might have been the first programmable digital computer. Brits tried to build it. They could not get it to work. They gave up after spending the equivalent of millions of dollars. His design is good. Nathan Meyerhold, a Microsoft billionaire, worked with Dwar Swen and a team at the National Computing Center at Bletchley Park in England. They built 2 replicas in 2011. And they work. And they were on display for a while. One of them was on display at the CHM Computer History Museum. It's about, I don't know, good 8-10 feet long, and could have worked. Babbage, like all great computer designers, wasn't satisfied with his first design. So Steve Wozniak did the Apple I, the Apple II, the Apple III. Cray did the Cray 1, the Cray 2, the Cray 3, so forth and so on. He designs his next one. He calls it the analytic engine. You're going to give me $1 million in 1840 to subsidize me building it?
Of course, why not?
Well,
What else am I going to do with it?
Good. I'm a much better salesman than he was, because he couldn't get anyone to finance the building of what would have been the second computer, and had it worked, it would have been the first working digital computer. So he had a wacko idea. He had played chess against the mechanical Turk. This is a mannequin. There's gears and levers. You put down your money and you play chess against the machine. Now, it was a fraud. There was a midget hidden inside. Those were mirrors, and he was able to move the pieces with a magnet. So Babbage, smart guy, plays chess, loses it, but he knows there's a human there. He also knows that in the 1840s, he's not building a chess playing engine. But he said, I probably could build a computer to play a much simpler game. He called it tit-tat-toe. We call it tic-tac-toe. And starting in 1840, he's corresponding with Ada Lovelace, presumably the first programmer. So 1849, he claims to have worked out a program, an algorithm, to play the perfect game of tic-tac-toe. I'm a computer, I don't make mistakes. You're a human, if you make a mistake, I win. If you don't, it's a draw. He's Charles Babbage. Everything's up here or on paper. Nothing exists from his tic-tac-toe machine because it was never built. But 100 years goes by, and this fellow, his name is Noel Elliott, he's in his late 90s and he lives down in Gaithersburg. He was in high school in Kellogg, Idaho, and he decided that he was going to build a tic-tac-toe machine. And he kept incredible notes. Here he's working out the different games of tic-tac-toe and then building circuits to do the right thing at every different place. And he eventually types it up and submits it for a science fair project in 1949. He wins the local science fair, he wins the state science fair, he goes to DC, wins the national science fair, and is written up here in Look magazine, the wonderful tic-tac-toe machine. Young scientist creates a brain that can't be beat. But James is going to try it anyway. So I'm going to turn the machine on, and you're going to turn one of the knobs hard to the right. So you'll choose where you want to go. So you're red, and the machine went there. And he blocked you. And you're smart, so you're going to block it. And you played a perfect game of tic-tac-toe, and so did it, so it's a draw. And you can play this as many times as you like. There's only one way to win this one, and that is I go here, I go there. He already went there, but I can cheat and get 3 in a row. This is what's called a master clock. So this guy winds up, and it lasts for about a week. So now it's fully wound. That one's mostly wound. User programmable here, we can turn on the bells that you hear to go from first period to second period, or coffee break time if you're in a factory. So it's called a master clock. We don't use that terminology anymore, but that's what it does. Every time this pendulum goes, it's going to send a pulse to a slave clock, not yet hooked up, future project, and that will remain synchronized with this. But I want to show you another slave clock to it. It's one of my new toys. So IBM was making business machines well before computers. So this is a time clock. What happens here is you have an employee number. James, what employee? You're going to be number 257. So you're going to come to work. You're going to turn this knob until it lines up with 257. Go ahead. 257. And then you're going to push in. And what that's going to do is this would have been on Saturday if it were hooked up. And then the black, if you were on time, it would have punched what time you entered your workplace. If you came in late, it would come in red. When you leave this afternoon, there's another mechanism on the other side. In the PM, it goes on the other side. So we have all the employees, each one has his or her own employee number. At the end of the week, HR will get a payroll.
An actual payroll.
An actual payroll with each employee, what time she entered, what time she left. If everything's right, it's all in black, so we just know what the time is. Otherwise, there's exception codes here for all the reasons you didn't come to work today. So you can be A for accident, or B for death in the family, or labor dispute, or jury duty, or whatever have you. So this is a payroll system. This is a Xerox Alto. It's 1970. And Xerox is losing their patents on xerography. So up until 1970, if you wanted a copy, you Xeroxed it. If you had another brand, it sucked. 1970, patents expire. I like to joke everyone and their brother, because at home I have a little brother all-in-one copier, printer, whatever. Started making decent copiers, and Xerox says, we got to get ahead of the next big thing. It's computers. We're a document company. So the screen's going to be 8.5 by 11. We're going to buy a nice piece of property in Palo Alto, call it Park, Palo Alto Research Center, and we're going to hire the top 100 computer scientists money can buy and tell them to go design the future. So they designed this computer. Everything we do in modern computing, I'm exaggerating a little bit, first done on this. So this is the first machine to have a mouse on it. This is the first machine to have Ethernet in it. First machine to do email. First machine to do object-oriented programming. First machine to have bitmap graphics, and what you see is what you get, word processor. All done on this machine. It's estimated that it costs about $55,000 a pipe piece to build these. They were never sold. You couldn't just go out and buy one. Xerox failed to market it. It's meant to boot off of a 2.5 megabyte removable hard drive. Unfortunately, here 50 years later, it doesn't work. Good news is we have Ethernet here in the building. The bad news is our switches support 10 megabit, 100 megabit, and gigabit. They don't support the original 3 megabit Ethernet spec. Yeah. But the great Ken Sharif, who is a blogger, built a BeagleBone, it's like a Raspberry Pi, with a custom board at 3 megabits. So what we're going to do is we're going to network boot this. So with a little bit of luck here, that's the boot symbol, and we're going to load the Xerox operating system. And there it is. Then I can see what programs I have on here, and I'm going to type missile command for a demonstration. And had you seen this in the 1970s, you would have been blown away. What's going to happen is we're going to load up, and we're going to play a one-player game. Little airplanes are going to start going across, and little Martians, and I can use the mouse, and if I have decent aim, I can shoot at the Martians, and they're going to start shooting at me, and I have to blow up enough of them before they beat me up. There was a guy named Boggs, a guy named Metcalf. Metcalf is still alive. Boggs died about 1.5 years ago. The two of them were responsible for developing Ethernet. They didn't just do that. These were really smart people. So Boggs decided he would take a camera, replace the film plane, and make an electronic camera. So what he did was hooked up the camera, and these things network, and you could video conference. So you could do Zoom on this. and you get to see his face there in the screen. So Xerox made money at PARC on one thing. They did have key patents on laser printers. So when you bought your Apple laser printer or your HP LaserJet or whatever, they were getting royalties. But they didn't sell this thing. A young man named Steve Jobs is in his early 20s. He's running a startup company called Apple. They're about to go public. Xerox wants to buy some Apple pre-IPO to take advantage of it. And Jobs says, only if you let me into PARC to see this thing. And the folks at PARC are not happy about showing it to the competition. But the senior management said, we want to buy Apple at a discount. Had they held on to it, it would have been the best investment they ever made. They bought it and sold it quickly. Goes in, demands a second visit, is blown away, ends up stealing the ideas for the graphical user interface, embedding it here on our Lisa. And Apple made all the money, and Xerox did not. A couple years later, Jobs gets pissed. He says, Bill, you stole the ideas from me. I'm going to sue you, which he does. Gates gets up on stage and says, no, 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 Steve. We both took the ideas from Uncle Xerox. You just got, when I went to steal it, you got there first. We never heard that case because Jobs was a difficult human being, to put it mildly. He got fired. He started his Next computer company.
So this is the Next computer company, which was when Jobs got fired by Apple.
Yep, exactly. So he went out and said, fine, I'm going to do it all over again. I'm going to do it better.
Do it myself.
So you'll notice one of the things aesthetically, all the computers are black, right? Which is crazy. All the computers before were beige.
All beige.
This is a great, this was very short-lived. You know, this.
I guess they hired him back.
Well, yeah, actually the board of directors, I think, called him back. So the Apple Lisa was kind of the first commercial success for Apple. It was named the Lisa after his child, after his daughter. And it's got a lot of the conveniences that you would have for a computer today. In a way, you've got a mouse, you've got a keyboard, you've got a keypad. You know, nice big screen for the time. I mean, really, this screen was huge for the time. Let's see, what was the price when new was about $10,000.
Wow.
So, and that's that price. That's, you know, that old.
The then price.
Right, exactly. So, really big.
Is that a printer?
Yep. Oh, I'm sorry. Nope. This is I thought it was. This is a expansion box.
An expansion box. So if Lisa wasn't enough for you,
right,
and you needed somebody else in your life, you could get the profile. So we have 25 different types of memory.
Yep.
So let's see let me see which ones I'm familiar with, because this one was probably before me. It's a little bit bigger.
8-inch.
I still refer to this as the floppy disk, where everybody else that I talk to refers to this one as the floppy disk. I'm simple, so I'm not saying sizes. I just say floppy disk. I'm meaning this.
The newest generation, what our kids' generation.
No, what do they?
They refer to this as the save icon.
The save icon. You got a Nintendo Famicom memory disk. Over here you got a zip disk. I remember the zip disks. Those I do remember. These are what we did everything in school on. Was the optical. Verbatim?
No, those are optical.
Oh, that's an optical?
This is an optical.
30 megabyte floptical.
Oh, floptical.
And then this would just be a normal.
Okay, so then this is what I did everything in school
yes.
with. Okay.
Yeah.
2-inch floppy disk. I haven't seen that one before.
That was on the Zenith Mini Sport.
Wow.
And then these were the micro drives that were in the iPods, right?
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And
the Maxell cartridge.
By our large.
Yes. Yeah.
The large one is one in the center.
The HP cartridge. A lot of cartridges I'm definitely not familiar with. Of course, the CD and the laser disc laser disc there. Little PSP disc.
That's cool.
So let me know you guys familiar with all these, and of course all these larger ones down here. They're way before my time.
This is a hard drive from 1962. It's called a Bryant. It's 195 megabytes.
And this is an actual disc.
That is one of the 24 platters. Wow. So what you're looking at is spinning rust, 8 megabytes on the entire platter.
Oh, wow.
So this originally retailed for $12 million.
Oh my gosh.
So if you do the math, that's $67 billion a terabyte.
Look at the size of that.
Yeah, it's 38 pounds just for the one.
And what's the revolution? Like how fast would they rotate?
900 RPM.
Yeah, I'm just thinking that size of a platter at 1200 RPM.
Yeah.
It's got to be.
That thing.
You got to feel it.
Oh yeah, the room vibrates.
And what year was this?
1962 is the
Whoa.
introduction. Tubes are switches. They're electrically controlled switches. And before transistors, computers were made with tubes. So we have a few tube computers, including a brand new version of the PDP-8. We call this one the PDP-8V, where V stands for valve, is what tubes are called in England.
Wild.
So we can boot this up. We have 5 Home Depot.
You want to heat your house.
Yeah, this heats up this room pretty quickly. I'll boot it up.
It does.
In a minute or two, you can turn off the lights. So right now we're at about 10 volts. When we get up to about 45 volts, the tubes will start to glow, and you can turn off the lights if you want by your, right there. And we're starting to see the tubes warm up. And then we can execute PDP-8 code in vacuum tubes at 25 kilohertz, not megahertz, not gigahertz, because the rise time when you switch the tube from a 0 to 1 takes too long. It doesn't go up instantly.
Wow.
So we now have a ready to boot CPU. We have a Raspberry Pi that's acting like the hard drive and everything else, so we can actually use this. So original switching going to happen with tubes. This is the straight 8, so it's a PDP-8 that is done with transistors. Oh, wow. So we don't yet have integrated circuits.
Wow, yeah.
So there are about 18,000 transistors in this on these various boards. The next generations of PDP-8s are going to use integrated circuits. Mm-hmm. The first generation of integrated circuits are going to have on the order of 50 transistors.
For one.
This is equivalent to that.
Yeah.
And by 1975, here's a PDP-8 on a single chip.
We have a display of video phones throughout the years. You got 1990s. Look at this one. See, this would have been way too high tech for me back in the day. This would have been more me. Mickey Mouse phone. Not exactly Mickey Mouse, but a phone like that, a cartoon phone. Or maybe something like this Lego phone right here. There's actually a dial tone. I wonder if I can call myself. See if my phone rings. I might have taken too long. Maybe I didn't press them. Oh, it's ringing. Uh-oh. My phone is ringing. That is amazing. Wow. So neat to see a phone like that that goes through a phone line. Or maybe it doesn't. I don't really know. But that's pretty cool because that's what I grew up with. And probably everybody, all of you grew up with that too. Now we don't really have that as much. So that's pretty cool. We have a calculator display. This is way before me, but this may be a little more recognizable. Then you got, what is this? The desk calcumeter. It's just another way to calculate, or adding machines. I'm guessing they're all adding machines. So just do little calculations. Look at this one up here. That's pretty wild. The addition, and you got the discs. I mean, that is a wild contraption. And then whatever this is, you need a calculator. There it is.
Yeah, the mechanical calculators.
1898 to 1948. This one looks fun too. And you got toy computers. I bet there's some people watching this that will have used some of these. You got a Thinkatron. Look at that. Wow. That's pretty cool. They had some cool toys back then.
This was just a simple mathematics.
Mathematics,
It's mathematics, right? So you go
It's like
8
a t-shirt
and 8,
idea.
that equals 64. 9 and 9, 81.
Oh, don't tell my son about this. He'll never do math again.
Yeah. You can't have a calculator, but you can have one of those.
This is interesting. It almost looks like a reel-to-reel.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's what it's supposed to be. It's a computer.
A cat on the couch?
I am a 1972 Play School computer. Wow.
These were really cool. These were the initiative of this was really cool, but I don't think it actually took off the ground. But it was called an OLPC XO. It was made for low cost computing and basically third world countries. And they were going to ship these to third world countries so that they could play with computers, they could code, they could network with one another and do all that kind of stuff. So super low cost, as you can see, real small screen. But I don't think these actually ever did much.
One laptop per child.
Yeah, but it was really, really cool program.
Wow. So let us know if you guys used any of these toys, like the junior computer. So outside the museum, they're actually having a swap meet today, so you can buy all kind of retro and vintage computer parts, and there's video games, just all different vintage items that you can see behind me. You can see all the old monitors and computers. It's actually pretty cool to go through some of this stuff that I haven't seen in years. I love the transoceanic and how big the antennas are.
I actually YouTube that. I turned it on, plugged it in, and it works.
Yeah, that's cool.
This was a Google search appliance that you could install locally on your network at your company. And it would index all of your files. And then you could have a Google search internally to your computer or into your network. So you would buy this from Google, you would install it on your network, it would search all of your files, it would index all of your files, and then it would come back with like a website that was internal, but it was a Google page, and then you could find all your company files.
And it's just rack mounts right in.
It's just a rack mount. It's just a Dell PowerEdge that Google put their code on and their algorithms. They would update it occasionally, with different algorithms, better algorithms, and then you could have a Google search in your company.
Oh wow!
What's really special about this is the keyboard connector. If you take a look at this keyboard connector, it looks like a telephone connector, but it's not. And if you try to hook up a telephone connector, like a typical telephone cord, to one of these computers with one of these keyboards, it'll fry. It'll actually crap out the keyboard. You can't do that. The keyboard itself is actually sometimes more rare than the computer, because the keyboards, they get lost, they get broken, all that kind of stuff.
You got your first thing?
You don't see these very often. This is really, really cool. So
Because it's vertical?
Because it's vertical. And so they were one of the, they understood that you needed to see a page at a time. And back when all the monitors were 4x3, they were one of the first ones, maybe even the only one, that came out with something like this. So that's pretty cool. I've never seen one in person.
Wait, is this a monitor you don't have?
I don't have anything like this, and honestly, when I collect, I'm not necessarily collecting for function. I like just sometimes just display pieces. Just like, yeah, exactly.
What'd you do?
I bought a machine.
You got one?
Yeah, I bought a machine.
Nice.
Even talked him down to $50.
Hey, what a deal.
Yeah, that's right. Do you even know what this is?
I have no idea. I have not a clue what it is.
Fantastic.
It's anything pre my current MacBook or laptop or whatever they're calling them these days. I was always a PC guy.
Yeah.
So I never used any Mac products. So all the Mac stuff we see is new to me.
So these are really good for what they call jump machines. So if you notice on the front here, you've got a floppy drive and you've also got a CD-ROM. So if you put a CD writer in here, you can actually transfer software from floppy to CD-ROM to maybe even get it on the network. And that's what these machines are really, really great for. They're just robust little machines. They don't go for much, obviously. And as long as it boots and works, which is what the guy said it does,
That's a deal.
It's good.
I never had any of that stuff.
Yeah, it's really good. I
did hear some. Yeah, maybe that's. Let's just hope that's some solder.
There's an Ethernet port on
I
it.
did
so
see
we
it
get on the internet.
Guys, I hope you enjoyed the tour of the computer museum. There's lots more. There's actually a video game museum built in there as well, and a couple other things that they're building. So we'll check that out again in the future. I was a little shorter on time today than I planned. I planned on this to actually be a little bit longer of a video, and I know it was a little bit longer than normal, but I wanted to give you guys that that nostalgic feel, those stories, and just bring you back to the day when everything was more simple and fun. So I hope you guys enjoyed it, but I'll catch you next time.